Tidal wave, an offshore earthquake of near biblical proportions, kills thousands of people across South and Southeastern Asia. The challenger who was poisoned seems headed for victory in the presidential rematch in Ukraine.
Well, it's been a Christmas nightmare.
Glitches and Grinches ground thousands of holiday travelers. And shoppers play Scrooge. Retailers total up their unhappy returns.
This is the CBS Evening News with John Roberts.
Good evening. John Roberts is off tonight. I'm Mika Brzezinski. We begin tonight with the still developing story of the most powerful earthquake of the past 40 years. The quake, with a magnitude of 9, struck off the Indonesian island of Sumatra, triggering massive tidal waves that swept from Thailand in the east across the Bay of Bengal to India and Sri Lanka, and even to the east coast of Africa. 11,000 people or more reported dead, including at least 3 Americans. Many of the victims lived outside the range of the international tsunami warning system. Barry Peterson has the latest on a disaster whose full dimensions are yet to be known.
From desperately poor fishing villages to fancy beachfront resorts, it was a typical Sunday morning that turned deadly without warning. It started with an undersea earthquake in northern Indonesia measuring 8.9 on the Richter scale, the world's worst earthquake in 4 decades. It generated tidal waves that literally fanned out across the Indian Ocean, some waves hitting more than 1,000 miles from the earthquake's epicenter. To the west, it was Sri Lanka and India that took the brunt of the destruction. To the north, Bangladesh was also hit. Many of the worst hit areas were poor fishing villages. The water smashed everything in its path and left behind shorelines littered with boats, debris, and bodies. Most of the Maldive Islands are barely 3 feet above sea level. The tidal waves were higher and many were instantly flooded. Also hard hit, Thailand's holiday resort island of Phuket. The Christmas holiday is among the busiest time of year in this area, and resorts were crowded, streets busy, beaches full of people enjoying the morning sunshine. Experts say unless there are significant aftershocks, there will be no more tidal waves. The worst, they hope, is over. There are still several million people across the region who may be displaced because homes and businesses were destroyed. It will take some people years to recover. And some will never recover. They are already grieving for their loss. Others still cling to hope for the missing who may have been washed out to sea, some almost surely lost forever. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Beijing.
The tidal waves are called tsunamis, caused by earthquakes underwater. The tremor causes the water at the surface of the ocean to rise up in a hump. Tsunamis can travel up to 500 miles an hour and be more than 50 yards high when they hit the shore. Survivors in Thailand said there was no warning of the impending disaster.
All of a sudden, the first tidal wave came in. It was very fast, very furious, and then it was followed by a number of successive waves. Thankfully, it was, I think, only because it was quite early in the morning that the vast majority of tourists and occupants of the hotel weren't actually down on the beach.
We didn't realize, we just saw a water plane coming up and towards the building and people from outside screaming, and then we saw the water come in the building and very fast.
I just managed to get my safe, open the safe and grab my clothes and put it in the case, and the bed was swimming in the room. Everything was completely destroyed.
In Geneva, the International Red Cross made an urgent appeal for emergency aid. En route to Crawford, Texas, President Bush said the U.S. is ready to offer all appropriate assistance, and Pope John Paul II also appealed for aid and said the Christmas holiday has been saddened by word of the disaster. Well, the political landscape in Eastern Europe appears to be changing at this moment. Exit polls show Viktor Yushchenko has won the presidential rematch in Ukraine. It is the end of a very long and nasty campaign, as Mark Phillips reports.
The supporters of Ukrainian presidential candidate Viktor Yushchenko, who have been on the streets for weeks protesting that the election was stolen from him, were celebrating tonight in the belief that in this rerun of the vote, their man has finally won. Yushchenko, whose disfigured face is the result of an apparent attempt to poison him with dioxins, has been holding a seemingly insurmountable lead in official voter exit polls. One showed him ahead by 56 to 41% over Viktor Yanukovych, whose apparent victory in a vote last month was overturned by the country's Supreme Court after mass protests. A team of international observers, including some from the United States, was on hand to oversee today's vote.
I think that the winning candidate can work with the United States, with Europe, with Russia, with all the rest of the international community. But it's absolutely essential that for that to happen, that it be seen as a fair election.
Yushchenko is from the liberal, westward-looking wing of Ukrainian politics and has promised both economic and political reform. Yushchenko's apparent victory will likely move Ukraine further from Russian influence and closer to Europe. That is not a result that was initially welcomed by Moscow, but Russian President Vladimir Putin now says he'll live with the outcome of this vote, whatever it is. Mika?
So, Mark, are these results final?
Well, these results aren't final, but judging from the lead in the exit polls and with about 12,000 international observers on hand, it'll be very hard to overturn this result. Still, given the history of what's happened in Ukraine, it'll pay to stay tuned and watch this vote until all the votes are counted and the results official.
And we will. Mark Phillips, thank you. Now, the dioxin poisoning that caused the transformation in Viktor Yushchenko's appearance is among many possibilities the U.S. Secret Service considers every time the commander-in-chief sits down to eat. Mark Knoller now reports on the plan in place to protect the presidential diet.
No person in the world gets more extensive protection than the American president, yet he is still vulnerable to attack, even to the kind of poisoning that befell Viktor Yushchenko.
Years and years ago, the thought was if you had your perimeters covered, your immediate perimeters covered, you were safe. And we found, sadly, since 9/11 that that's not the case.
But long before the Yushchenko case, it became standard procedure for the Secret Service to make sure no one could harm the president by way of what he ate or drank.
That is highly unlikely for anything like that to occur to our president. We handle all the food, all the personnel. They're vetted continually.
Even when Mr. Bush is the guest of a friendly foreign leader, as was the case at Dromoland Castle in Ireland this year, Secret Service agents are in the kitchen, watching the food being prepared and sampling it before it is served. Though increasingly rare, there are times the president eats out at a restaurant, and then the kitchen there comes under intense scrutiny.
Oh, this is good.
Even during a campaign stop for some ice cream in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, agents checked out the frozen custard stand 20 minutes before the unscheduled stop. The Secret Service doesn't discuss its procedures, but it will study a well-publicized incident such as the poisoning of a foreign political leader.
And we incorporate lessons learned into our situation.
Yushchenko ardently believes that he was poisoned during a dinner with the chief of Ukrainian security and his deputy. While some medical experts dispute that, what happened that night is an object lesson for the Secret Service, since Yushchenko says none of his bodyguards were on duty at that dinner. Mark Knoller, CBS News, with the president in Crawford, Texas.
That trip to Grandma's house was a nightmare this year, and the big bad wolf in this case turned out to be several airlines that had a Christmas meltdown. Kelly Kobiea reports some travelers never got home for Christmas, and those who did make it showed up with no luggage or gifts.
I'm looking for luggage.
10,000 lost bags and 30,000 stranded passengers turned airline industry dreams of a record holiday travel season into
a Christmas nightmare. U.S. Air is the Grinch that stole Christmas.
From Philadelphia to Phoenix, luggage filled with clothes and presents sits unopened, and airport monitors are lit up like Christmas trees.
We're going on 16 straight canceled flights.
The bulk of the cancellations came on Delta-owned Comair. The carrier stopped flying Christmas Day and is running a fraction of its flights today because a key computer system used to keep track of crews crashed.
It's a nightmare, total nightmare. Delta should be closed down forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Comair blamed the glitch on last week's snowstorm. And that same storm was only the start of trouble at U.S. Airways.
We're here, we're working, I'm here. Don't so sick out.
The company says a huge number of flight attendants and baggage handlers called in sick. The employees union denies staging a sick out But few frustrated passengers swallowed that line.
They were able to spend the holidays with their families, but we weren't.
U.S. Air canceled nearly 300 flights, and managers and other employees have come in to reunite bags with passengers, a process that may take days. Not easy without fresh underwear.
Sorry.
It's okay. Well, it's not. But
Barbara Reeser isn't concerned about her clothes or presents. She's worried about her health.
my meds are in here somewhere. I've got a heart condition.
Transportation Secretary Norman Mineta was on the phone with U.S. Air officials Christmas Eve, demanding answers. No doubt when everyone heads back to work tomorrow, he, along with thousands of stranded passengers, will want to know why this happened. Mika?
Kelly, in the case of U.S. Airways, did weather play a role?
Only at the beginning, Wednesday, when this Midwest snowstorm caused a few flights to be canceled. But had it not been for the shortage of workers, the backlog of luggage never would have gotten this bad.
Kelly Kobiella in Philadelphia, thank you. And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas disappointment for retailers. And later, a sports world shock. Football legend Reggie White dies at the age of 43. So far, retailers have the blues this holiday season, which means if you're a bargain hunter, the New Year's sales should be fabulous. Trish Regan is here now with more on the ho-hum holiday sales. Good evening, Trish.
Good evening, Mika. 1 in 5 Americans were expected to go shopping today, and retailers were looking for a strong finish to a lackluster season. But some may end the holidays in the red.
ABC is already half price.
Retailers hoped bargain hunters would hit the stores today.
Are you looking for discounts?
Very much so.
Yes, we are.
But at this Manhattan mall, storekeepers were left disappointed.
Had you expected it to be more crowded today?
We were expecting it to be packed.
Instead, it was nearly deserted. Bad news for store owners, since the week after Christmas can account for as much as 20% of holiday sales. Still, even a last-minute rush may not be enough to put many retailers in the black this year.
Sales are flat.
Yes.
So not what retailers were looking for then?
No, retailers were looking for about 5-6% increase.
They may only get an increase of 2.5%, barely keeping pace with inflation. Discounters like Walmart are hurting the most. Analysts predict the world's largest retailer will have its worst Christmas ever. Higher prices at the pumps and soaring heating costs are taking a bite out of consumers' pocketbooks, leaving lower-income Americans with less money to spend.
We have to look for cheaper prices, and everything just has to be low budget.
But while discounters are struggling, high-end business is booming.
Their core customers are recession-proof and very loyal, and clearly they have money to spend and they're happy to do it.
Another area showing strength is online shopping. Online sales are up more than 26% over last year. Mika?
Now, Trish, those holiday gift cards were a huge seller this year. How did they affect the retailers' bottom lines?
Well, more than $17 billion worth of gift cards were sold this year, but retailers actually can't factor that money into their profits until consumers use the cards. Mika?
Trish Regan, they'll have to wait for the money. Thank you. And just ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a video claim of responsibility for the Mosul bombing. And later, prescriptions for world peace from the next generation. The Iraqi militants who claim responsibility for last week's deadly military mess tent bombing in Mosul posted a video today they say shows them planning the attack and embracing the suicide bomber. The pictures on the group's website also show what appears to be the actual attack on the tent in Mosul, which killed 22 people, including 18 Americans. And a final picture shot from a passing vehicle shows the huge hole torn in the white tent. In North Carolina, football legend and ordained minister Reggie White died today. Randall Pinkston looks at a player who seemed bigger than life.
When Reggie White took the field, quarterbacks took notice.
Anytime you have a great player like he is, a Hall of Famer, you have to, as an offense, you have to, game plan around him.
But even the best plans didn't work with White. who became one of the most dominant defensive players of his era, elected to the Pro Bowl a record 13 straight times, expected to be a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. White began his NFL career with the Philadelphia Eagles, but made his mark with the Green Bay Packers.
He was the guy that was bigger than life in football, and he brought legitimacy to the Green Bay Packers.
With his fearless power, White helped lead the Packers to a Super Bowl championship and a visit to the White House. When he retired in 2000, he led the league in career sacks.
The accolades are pouring in. NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue called White a gentle warrior, one of the greatest players in NFL history. But football was just part of his life.
With the charity work that he did in Philadelphia, started in Philadelphia. Everybody knows with the home in Tennessee for women, unwed mothers. He was just an outstanding person.
Called the Minister of Defense on the field, White really was an ordained minister off the field.
Let's stop telling the government to take care of our people. Let's start taking care of them.
Reggie White turned 43 last week. He's survived by his wife and 2 children. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, New York.
And next up on tonight's CBS Evening News, children with lessons to teach the world about peace. It's easy enough to talk about peace on earth, goodwill towards men on Christmas Day itself, but what happens to all those fine sentiments on December 26th and all the days that follow? Thoughts on peace from school children around the world are tonight's Weekend Journal.
In Bethlehem town, on a cold, clear night,
It's a special time of year in what's called the Christmas City. At Bethlehem, Pennsylvania's Notre Dame School, lessons of the season are fresh on the minds of 5th graders.
If everyone could get along, it would be a better world.
Don't let Dan McDonald's black eye fool you. He and his friends have some ideas.
Sometimes, like, when you're trying to do something and you can't get it, you just get frustrated and then you try to take it out on the other person and you just can't do that.
You have to sit down and talk it out, not like fight.
Try and relax, think about what the other person's been saying to you, see if you can try and make the situation better.
But in the West Bank town where the Gospels say a Savior was born, it'll take much more. Conflict between Palestinians and Israelis shapes these young lives.
By jihad and continued resistance and fighting, we will be free.
One time 40 days passed because of fighting. We could not come to school, so for 40 days we could not study.
If people cooperate, maybe peace will come later.
That notion has a familiar ring here in Baghdad. Peace cannot come soon enough here. On this holiday, Santa Claus doesn't deliver school supplies, the U.S. 1st Cavalry does.
To live in peace, we need to stop the bombs. We do not want explosions anymore. We must tell the bombers that we have had enough of these bombs, and then the Americans will leave someday.
I like peace because peace means safety. It's good to feel safe.
We must tell other people we do not want to fight with them. We do not want another war. We just want to live in peace and love our God, Allah.
As distant as that goal seems, remember the Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The Chinese teens we spoke to in Beijing agree. Wanting peace is working towards peace.
I think it's possible, for the world is one big family. We all live in this big family. We are part of the family and world as well.
This problem cannot be solved without all people's participation. People should not be too self-centered.
In the short term, peace on earth is unlikely, but many of the children we spoke to agree. Living in peace is possible. Just choose this moment to begin living by the golden rule.
Be kind to one another, one person at a time.
I feel like nice to the people that you know, and then maybe they'll be nice to other people, and then it'll just like keep going like that.
Child by child, grown up by grown up, nation by nation.
Everyone should just try to be one big family.
So I think that people can do it. People can really get along.
Peace on earth, sing His praise.
Words from the wise. And that is the CBS Evening News. I'm Mika Brzezinski, CBS News, New York. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on cbsnews.com. Brought to you in part by Walmart. Good jobs, good people, great opportunities. Come grow with us at Walmart.